All right. Thank you, everyone, for coming to Call Quality Issues and Where to Find Them. Shout out to our sponsors. If you haven't already checked them out in the showroom downstairs, please do go. A couple of really great contact center vendors there. If you've got questions, they have answers. So me, Torren Manson, I've been doing Teams since, well, way before it was called Teams. Voice is the largest portion of what I do. I do a whole bunch of things around Teams and Teams voice, but it's my main focus. I live in Kamloops, British Columbia, and I race BMX, proving that you can be old enough that you should know better, and yet you think you're young enough to do it anyway. So before we get into the meat and potatoes of technical things, what are quality issues? Well, anything that your boss might complain about is probably a quality issue. Anything that someone might complain to your boss about is probably also a quality issue. Poor sound, poor picture, disconnects fall into a quality issue, and the inability to connect in the first place. Someone making you turn your camera on is not a quality issue. So I am going to pop out of PowerPoint here and into Teams Admin Center because that is way more fun. So this is the dashboard of Teams Admin Center. And if you haven't been in the dashboard and you haven't played with it, please do. There is a ton of great stuff in here. The first thing I want to point out is that you can rearrange the dashboard as you see fit. You can just grab these guys and move them around. So dig through, find the things that are important to you, move them up to the top so they're always in front of you. And in this handy rotator up top, there are a couple of things in here that are worth talking about. So the first is custom alerts get notified about meeting issues in real time. That sounds like a good thing if you know about an issue before your boss does. So there are a lot of different settings and thresholds in here that you can turn on, turn off, adjust those thresholds if it's going off a little too often, and it's not actually an issue for anyone in the room in the meeting. So have a look at this, get those set up, especially for those key meeting rooms. It's been there for a while, but it's been massively improved. It used to be pretty clunky. All right, the next one here is silent test calls. So Teams is always tracking telemetry of your calls back and forth. Everything's getting thrown into databases. You can pull up that stuff and have a look at it. Silent test calls. I have no event scheduled. I'm probably looking in the wrong tenant. All right, so silent test calls, what they allow you to do is set up test calls in specific areas of your network to run at specific times. The benefit of this versus just looking at data for, hey, Torren made a phone call, is you don't have to depend on your users making a call at a certain time. They are pretty straightforward. You can do meetings, you can do town halls, give it a name, the subnet that you want to target, how often you want that to go ahead and run. Time zone. Time zones are important whenever you've got a time, and you can set a schedule. This is going to reach out. It's going to grab devices on that subnet. It's going to place this call behind the scenes. Nobody is going to know that this is happening other than you in your database. You're going to have this information to be able to look at. So if someone's reporting issues, hey, the Seattle office, but no one's really making enough calls, you can't find anything in there, you can set up a bunch of silent test calls and have lots of great information to work with. And the third one in here is best practices. This stuff is gold. I love that this is right here on the dashboard. These are some of the top issues that I see in Teams configurations. The top one there, enable the correct ports and protocols. And it's got an insight that says no locations with high TCP usage. So TCP is that SYN, ACK, back and forth. It's silly amounts of overhead when you're dealing with real-time media. We want UDP. If Teams sees a lot of TCP going back and forth, it's going to flag that in here. Split tunneling for VPNs. You generally don't want your Teams traffic backhauling over a VPN to a concentrator and then going out. You want it to go directly out. DNS resolution failures. I haven't seen an awful lot of these come up, but I will share a really interesting story. We had a customer in Japan, had their DNS lookups happening from North America, but North America was actually pointed at Europe. Teams' initial lookups look for Anycast DNS names, and they're different on which continent you're on, and other continents are your backups. So if you're not getting your DNS from the right spot, hilarity will ensue. You're going to be connected to the wrong spot on the planet. These resolution failures, though, could just be down to your DNS just not finding one of those connections up front. There are two items in here for cloud proxy and local proxy. We don't need our real-time media going through a proxy server. The cloud proxy, the biggest one that I see is Zscaler, and the sales guys at Zscaler, not to pick on them, everybody does this. And they say, yeah, we got an automatic button. You just turn that on and everything Office 365 just works. Except, what are they doing with our real-time media from a Teams call that we're sending up to Zscaler's cloud? They're going to try and inspect that and look at it and decrypt it, and they're not going to be able to. And even if they could decrypt it, do they understand what's going on in there? Can they do anything worthwhile with that Microsoft isn't already doing when your data gets to Microsoft's end of that connection? There are some other issues there with your IP address that you get from those services that can interfere with your emergency calling locations. We've got our next item down is optimize for VDI. So what are we running locally on our thin client connecting to a VDI machine? How is that stack working back and forth? Is there anything we can change? Update outdated client versions. I accidentally took my old machine that I purposely leave on an old client version for this and connected it to the network, and it updated. So I don't have an example in here of it telling me about that. But it'll come up and it'll say, hey, we found some old versions here. You should update those. Most often we see this, there's 2-3 machines have just something's happened to them. They've gotten stuck on an old version. They're not auto-updating. You have to go give it some percussive maintenance and get the update happening. All right, so the next issue to dive into then, or spot to dive into, is under voice and then direct routing. So I've got some SBC names in here, but the cool thing is this menu item right here, SBC tests. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. I've got a test in here that I've run. It shows as failed because I don't actually have the connectivity to the SBC at the moment. Come on, spinny circle. So it's doing some tests here, inbound, outbound calls, simultaneous ring, media escalation, consultative transfer. So basically, is my SBC configured properly to handle all of the different call transactions that happen when a call comes in from the PSTN? It does this with real live actual calls, but they don't come from the PSTN. You need 3 Teams users if you're going to do all of these tests. You need one that's going to place the call, and you need a number configured on your SBC that's going to take that call, it's going to translate it, hairpin it, and throw it back in as if it were a PSTN call from the outside world. It's going to hit that first user. I'm going to test out that inbound, outbound call. I'm going to test out another call for simultaneous ring. Do both of those users ring? And so on. One of the downfalls I see, or one of the other tricky parts about these tests, it was much faster when I was doing this earlier. So one of the parts of this is multi-factor authentication is turned on for absolutely everything these days. Your 3 test users that you've got here, you've got to figure out your best strategy for disabling multi-factor authentication for them. All of the security defaults that are in place will enforce multi-factor authentication. So if you are not familiar with conditional access, you'll have to get familiar with conditional access, because you'll have to put a rule in place to turn on multi-factor for all of your users and then exempt these 3 from that. Okay, so also hiding in here up at the top, we've got this Analyze Direct Routing Calls and a Troubleshoot button. This actually takes us to the usage reports, and I'm glad they've got another button there that gets us to the right spot a little quicker here. I'm going to do one of those cooking show tricks and take the completed item out from underneath the counter and switch to a different tenant that's got some good information in it. So we've got a call here, and I'm going to go ahead and click Troubleshoot on it. And it's going to give me some great information about this call rather than having to sit there and try and decipher what happened. It's going to tell me who the users are, date and time, the caller, the callee, the call type. These little acronyms here actually mean something. This is direct routing inbound. So you'll get to see that it's inbound, outbound. Is it direct routing? Is it calling plans, for example? You'll see the SIP code and phrase. With SIP, there are standards for error codes. They're the same standard as HTTPS. So you see 404 not found. 500 series is even badder, and the 600 series is really, really bad. Microsoft has extended those or clarified those and has a series of subcodes now. And you can get some very explicit details from these 2 links here about what exactly happened in this particular phone call. I've seen things that have gone out to an SBC that are talking about the license on the receiving user, for example. In this case, we've got a 404 user not found. There's someone phoned the phone number. It's not assigned to anything. So we get event type over on the right, failed. We can click this other tab here, SIP Call Flow Insights, and get a SIP ladder. So we can see that pure SIP conversation that's gone on between Teams World and our SBC. This is super helpful from the Teams admin point of view. You're not an SBC admin, so you don't get access to the SBC logs typically to be able to pull this stuff out. And you certainly don't get access from Teams directly to be able to go in and pull logs. So this was a welcome addition some time ago to be able to see what's going on between that SIP proxy at Microsoft and our SBC. We've got our omnipresent Copilot logo sitting here. If you haven't entered the world of using Copilot in Teams Admin Center, M365 Admin Center, please do that. There's a lot of really interesting, really good stuff going on in here. If I click on Troubleshoot SIP Call Flow, I get my Copilot window up on the right, and I've got a prompt pre-populated with everything. So I don't even really have to sit there and go, okay, well, how do I talk to Copilot about my call? What do I ask it? It's right there. So just go ahead and click on it. It's going to work on it. It's going to dive in, have a look at that call. If you are not a SIP expert, you're not a voice expert, Copilot can find some of these answers for you. Let's see what it comes up with for us. Finishing touches are important. Apparently really important. All right, we're going to skip that then. So we're going to go back here to our PSTN calls. It's taking some time. Awesome, thank you. And we're going to scroll down in our list here to a call that went through. Click on that, and we can go through the same process. We can troubleshoot a call that went through. It'll tell us that. We'll get big green circles and dots all over the place. Hey, it was successful. This error code means success. Oh, and Copilot came through with our details over on the side. So it's given us a long list of things for what is actually pretty simple. Hey, we don't have the phone number assigned to anybody. And it's got a long list of things in here to check. You know, is this a call routing or configuration issue? It's not a protocol violation. Possible causes, well, it got it on the first one, which is great. The number's not assigned to anyone. So having a look at this SIP ladder from the call that succeeded, there's a lot of really great stuff in here. If you're troubleshooting things like simultaneous ring transfers, transfers in and out of an auto attendant that comes into your organization and turns around and goes back out, those can be really fun ones to track down, and this is certainly very helpful for that. All right, steal some thunder from the Microsoft folks in the room for a presentation that they're doing tomorrow, is it? So, call quality dashboard, quality of experience reports. Let me hop back to analytics and reports here in Teams Admin Center. We've got a call quality dashboard here. This is the legacy one. It's web-based. If you need something quick, this is set up, it's ready to go. You can get some simple information out of here. You'll get far better details out of the Power BI version. Google Call Quality Dashboard download, or Bing Call Quality Dashboard download, and you'll get the files. There is a load of amazing information in here for troubleshooting your quality issues. So we've got a welcome screen that's got some notes on the recent changes. We've got a home screen that will take us through a quick definition of what all of the different reports are that are available to us. It was doing this last year too. And you can control click to get to those right away if you want as well. There is a definitions tab, which is helpful when you're having a look at your calls. You have a meeting, which can be your series of meetings, as you would casually call it. An instance of that is a conference. And apparently Microsoft Windows is not following its do not disturb rules. Then you get a session or a call within that, and then you get a stream or a segment going on, which is your one direction of your audio or your video. So as a presenter, you're going to have multiple streams of audio and video on the way up, on the way down to you. Jeff, who is just at home watching the meeting, and he's multitasking and playing does Jeff play solitaire on his computer, he's going to have just those inbound streams to him. He's not going to be sending anything upstream. So those are the meeting, conference, session, or call, stream, or segment are important differentiations to keep in mind as you're going through. The other one that you'll see in here is second client or second device. The second client or the second device is always your machine. The first is most often team services in the cloud, but could in some cases be another machine. We've got a search if we want to dive into some direct results. We know something in particular that we're hunting down. We've got 2 links here for top 10 networks and top 10 managed networks. So these are going to give us stats, in this case, by building, city, region, including drop rates by those, and lots of filters at the top. So we can narrow down and have a look at just one particular building, one particular modality. Is this thought by teams to be a VPN, for example, because it's got a /32 IP address? And we can filter by clients over at the top right. If there's something particular going on, all of our folks who are complaining are running Macs, for example. The building information that's in here in Teams Admin Center, there is building and endpoint data. If you haven't filled this out and uploaded this, please go ahead and do that. You can click on what's there and download. You can upload a replacement one, and you set the date and time for when it starts. And that will help you deal with any changes in your environment over time. So call quality dashboard and some other spots in Teams Admin Center will use that file to identify, hey, this subnet belongs to this site in this particular country over here. So instead of staring at a bunch of subnets in these reports that you got to go look up to see exactly how they correlate together and what they do, you get things like the McGrainer household, the Ball household, the Manson household. Okay, we've got houses in here because this is our corporate cloud revolution system. This would be your Seattle office, your New York office type of thing. So you're breaking it down by something that's a little more familiar to you than an IP address. ASN, if you don't speak internet things, this is your ISP connections. User feedback. This is always a fun one to have a look at. No news is generally good news. If there's nothing in here, we've got a whole 1 answered survey out of 11 surveys, and it's a 5.0, so great. The polar opposite of this happens sometimes. If things are really bad, you'll get the really bad reports in here. You won't necessarily have any statistics in between there, or at least as far as I've seen. Folks are either happy with things and they hit that skip button underneath rather than the 5 stars, or they hit the 5 stars. They won't do the 3 or the 4 kind of thing. Again, we've got all of our filters here. We can check Wi-Fi versus wired, for example. Yes. Nice. So exactly what folks are doing anyway. Like it, don't like it. Yeah. I mean, as you sit there staring at it, you're like, what makes this call a 3 versus a 4 or a 5? The thumbs up, thumb down makes far more sense. So lots of factors in here to break down the call, to help you chase down what's really going on. The next tab over is dailies. So this is stats on your audio quality, your sharing quality, so screen sharing, and your setup failures and your drop streams hiding down at the bottom. So did something fail to even connect and start the meeting? That's just as important as, hey, Jeff sounded really garbled on that call. Drop streams. Hey, I keep getting kicked out of my calls. What's going on? Right? So having those broken down really helps you out here. There are some specific reports on events. So rather than just a Teams call, oops, I spun too far. Media health, I like this one because it's got nice gauges up at the top. Good for admins. This is a fun one to have a look at for the Wi-Fi versus the wired and see what's happening there. This one goes back 3 months, which is helpful for kind of looking at those trends. Someone's going, well, it never used to be like this. You can have a look and you can see, hey, yeah, it did used to be like this. Again, a whole pile of filters over on the left, building names, cities, ISP, country, and client. And if you're curious, you can't remember, or you're staring at the charts trying to figure out what are these thresholds, handy dandy list of those thresholds. So poor audio rate, less than 3%, for example. All right, PSTN health, I'm gonna skip past. Have a look at media setup. So this is, hey, we're starting something within Teams. Does that go ahead, or does video starts, kicks me back out kind of thing? This is a good spot to come to try and track that down and see what's going on. Media reliability is something going on that every 15 minutes or top of every hour or whatever, I get kicked out of my meetings. You can come here and see, my Seattle office, for example, the building filter up at the top has a whole pile of drops of media. All right, for those organizations that are heavy into Wi-Fi, you've probably got the 2.4 gig Wi-Fi still kicking around. Do your absolute best to show it the door or restrict that from your general users. If you need it for a particular device or a particular service, try and lock that down and get your users off of it. It's red. Surprise! The 5 gigahertz, 6 gigahertz stuff is just so much better. This is absolutely not uncommon when I look at my customer networks to see red or yellow in here for the 2.4, and the 5 is green and working well. The tab next to it is going to give us some more details on that. This is kind of diving in, giving us some of the gory details. We've got some of the same information up at the top, but we've also got things now like the transport used. Is this TCP? Is this UDP? What was our latency and our packet loss on all of these? Up at the top here as well, we get a breakdown between the inbound and the outbound. That's always an interesting one on Wi-Fi. Your Wi-Fi access point probably has the strength to reach your client. Your client doesn't necessarily have the strength to have its signal upstream to the access point. So this is an interesting one. So hunt down access points that might be in a bad spot. You might have a need for another access point to be deployed in the middle. You might have too many access points too close, overlapping their channels and battling each other. So you can click through, select, filter, have a look at what's going on in those deeper details. Video and sharing, much of the same. rather than just the audio streams. We won't dive into those. We've got transport. This is going to take that we saw in the best practices, our TCP. We don't want TCP, we want UDP. It's the postcard rather than the envelope with signature on delivery kind of thing. This dives deeper into that, gives us all kinds of explanations, all kinds of connections to what's going on. Hey, we've got high TCP usage by our ISP. Is the ISP doing something weird? Is there equipment on our network doing something weird that's blocking this UDP from going out? Estimated VPN, if you have a /32 IP address, that almost an impossible one according to the IP address RFC. That just means, hey, we absolutely know you are on a VPN. There's no other possible scenario here. So that's going to get traffic thrown into the estimated VPN category. Mapped VPN, talked about that building file earlier and all of your subnets. There are a series of columns in there to describe your subnet and your building and say what's going on with those subnets. If you're saying, hey, this is VPN, it will show up there. Audio devices. This is an absolute great one, and I hope this refreshes quickly so we can see. All right, so we've got a headset in here and a built-in sound card in here with nice red coloring behind it. So we can go ahead, we can click on that. Thinking about it, there we go. And we've got some filterings happened on some other tabs to break down what's going on, who are the people behind that red tab. Down here on the bottom, we've got poor microphone rates. And hiding down here at the bottom, you've got your different laptop fleets or your different devices that are reporting those issues. This has, in at least one customer of mine, identified a bad driver on their image for a laptop. We had just a massive spike for one particular model of device. They went and had a look at it, did the update, pushed that out to all the rest of the devices. Boom, issue solved. It will. They're not flagged as certified as not certified, but you'll see. Let's click on me and see if it's going to pick up.
But I guess the report doesn't move that from. That's part of the optimize and optimize. You can always do that.
Yeah, I mean, down here at the bottom, it's a bit of an eye chart. We've got some Draba devices. We've got some Sennheiser. Then we've got, Realtek high definition audio. So someone's shouting at their laptop, they're going to have a lower call quality than someone with a $400 headset kind of thing. Client versions, this is a deeper expansion on what we saw under the best practices again. So we're going to see how old are those client versions, how have we been updating over time? Do we have a laptop family out there in our fleet of devices that's stuck on a particular version for some reason? Or a user with an iPhone who's complaining about terrible call quality and, well, they're on an iPhone 8 and hey, it's time for a new iPhone so you can get supported operating systems and supported apps on it. Did you have a question there? You do not need a Power BI if you're running this in the desktop client. You can publish this through all the wonderful Power BI web stuff. I have no idea how to do that. You do need all the proper licensing for that to take place. All right, we're getting really sluggish now.
How much data gather? No.
So all of these rails over on the right on the screen, you can pop those out. You've got some ability to go in there and start poking at things. I've not found any real need to do that. The dates that are used in here, some of the tabs had 90 days. I probably don't need to go back further than that for quality issues. It's either still ongoing or it's done. If it was done 100 days ago, hey, call me when it happens again. So we've got more details in here. Man, I wish we had this back when COVID first hit and we had people with their Surface Pro devices with 8 gig of RAM and they're streaming their audio and doing all kinds of other things on that poor little device and it just can't join the meeting. We would be able to look at this report and see that, hey, your CPU utilization is really, really, really high. What are you doing on that poor device such that teams can't get enough resources to do something? All right, VDI clients 1.0 and 2.0, I'll skip past those as I don't have any data in them. If you're running VDI 1.0, if you're running Citrix Metaframe, Citrix WinFrame, any of those are really old things, please don't do Teams on them. Get those things updated, get into 2025 at least in your systems that you're using for those. The experience is so much better. So building data, I talked about that file. This is looking at that file, looking at that data, and giving you a list of what subnets are being seen, and does Teams know about that subnet. Top one here, for example, the omnipresent 192.168.1.0. Up at the top, that's in Chad's office. So we know, hey, that's internal to our network. Let's see if I can find public one in here. No. All right, so what this is useful for is when you see a high number of sessions and a mismatch. So if we had Adam's office here with 14 sessions, whoop. All right, so this top item, I'll move my cursor off of it so that we can see it. If we had that not defined in our building file, we're going to see that high number of streams and it's going to show as outside. So a high number of streams from one address outside is probably an indication that it's maybe not outside, maybe it is internal to you and you've just missed it out of that building data. All right, cool, who cares? Just hit the building data in some reports. If you've missed it from your billing data, have you missed it from your emergency services database? Probably, because those should all be the same. So hunt those things down and see what's going on with them. Be careful with this. Jeff, how many people do we have here this week? 8? Eight out of 9. We've got one person still in the virtual office, staffing all of our company functions. So we will undoubtedly hear, once our information from today percolates and arrives in here, see this hotel and all of these conferences show up with a whole pile of streams as outside. In this case, it is truly outside. It's not a case of, hey, we missed one of our buildings. So don't just go and grab those and throw them in with, yeah, it's one of our buildings. We're just not sure which one. You've got to do some digging and see, does that exist just for 2 days or 3 days and then go away? Or is that something persistent that's there with a high quality or a high quantity of streams? There are some other tabs here that have the little "don't use this anymore" on them. And I'll skip past some of these other ones to roaming. And Jeff, you are the problem child. Congratulations. Nice. So roaming is Teams changed its connectivity, or your Teams client changed its connectivity. And did that cause some sort of an issue? This helps you nail down, you look at the BSSID roaming failures. BSSID is your Wi-Fi MAC address. Your access point has usually up to 16 SSIDs. That access point has a BSSID for each of those 16 SSIDs on it, unique to that device. If you're roaming back and forth between those a lot, that might indicate that coverage gap on your Wi-Fi network.
What overlap?
Sorry?
Mostly overlap.
Could be overlap. I've mainly seen it be a gap in coverage. Yes.
Blanked out tabs at the bottom, those are for good.
Go back.
One of the first tabs.
Perfect, thank you. So when you go and you download the template file for this, there is a preview that's in there for drill down. And one of these had some really interesting stuff in it. We'll see if it'll flick through here. There we go. So looking at these graphs, you can see visually they're different. They've got some confidence bars around some of the ratings. I should also explain, if you didn't pick up, we've got our 3 different colors in here, but there's also different intensities to the color. So it's not just the 3 gradients, there's more than that, a deep green and a light green. For example, a deep red is very bad versus a light red. So have a look at this one as well. Lots of really great information in here about Wi-Fi bands. Wi-Fi is just the perennial problem, the trouble child. The cool thing about this report is it's the guided drill down, drill through. So there's some help on, okay, I see something right on this top menu about Wi-Fi, but now what? So it gives you that guidance to dive down and start going through things and finding out those more examples. I am going to, in the interest in time, not dive into that. I have a couple more spots to check out here. So I've got a meeting going up here. I've got 2 web clients, and my phone have been in a meeting with all of their devices inactive, so that we're not getting any nice howling back and forth. So if I click on one of my users and I click on, actually I don't need to because we've got fixed meeting issues for all users. I can view my active meetings. I can see I've got an active meeting. I can click on the meeting ID. Boss is on the phone. Hey, I've got board meeting going on, blah, 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 blah. Fix this. You've got access here, almost real time to what's going on in that meeting that you can dive into. You can see who's sharing, when did they join, when did they exit. You get a graph here that shows potential issues. You can click on each of the individual participants and see detailed telemetry from them, even when they're not in your tenant. I'm in my lab tenant, which has the Battlestar Galactica theme, which is why everything looks weird with users like Hot Dog and Racetrack. My Cloud Revolution user has joined this meeting. Of course. Couldn't load the data. We'll try again. So we'll see if it pulls up. It is live data. It doesn't always come up. This isn't just the curse of the demo gods. All right, there we go. So I've got all kinds of information over here. My location is coming up as Canada for this because I'm roaming and I'm on 5G right now. So you do get some really interesting information like that if you can piece together that puzzle. If my traffic for this meeting is going through cellular carriers back to Canada and then popping out, hey, if someone's from Europe and this is going all the way back to Europe before it pops out to join a meeting here in the US where they've traveled to, maybe that's contributing to some issues that are going on. So we've got a display here of the ports that are being used. We've got some system information. So this is cool. We've got some device information. Hey, what input and output devices is the person using? All right, it's an iPhone. They're probably not on the $400 Jabra headset. So we can see that the user is muted, the video's off, screen share's off. We can see the round trip time is 150 milliseconds on the audio stream. Before we started here, I unmuted and sent some traffic back and forth to be able to get this. 150 milliseconds is not the end of the world. Around 200 is when we start getting antsy, and people are able to pick something up with their ear that, hey, this is annoyingly long. So this is a great spot to come to when you've got that, hey, the president is having issues hearing, he sounds terrible, whatever that case might be. We'll come back here to our, oh goodness, the demo gods are unhappy today. All right, we'll come back here to our user, click into them, and we'll look at a historical phone call rather than kind of the live meeting that's going on. Or not. All right, so we're going to click on this call here. So this is a historic call. It should just be two parties on here. It's taken place. The duration is in fact 0, which boo hiss. There we go. We'll pick on this meeting that's got some time to it. So we can see now this is a completed meeting. We get to see how long it was. We have similar information to that live one. Who joined? What modalities were they using? Were any issues detected? What was detected? We can click on our users and jump into the telemetry. And this looks a bit different for us because it's not live. So we really don't need to know that information about, hey, he's muted on the iPhone because the call is over. This view has been updated recently, I'm going to say, because I was just in another tenant a couple of weeks ago, and the old display was still here. And there is 3 different tabs of generally easy to understand stuff, hard to understand stuff, and then I'm sure somebody understands that, but this somebody is not me tab. It's much simpler now. It's got a cleaner layout. We've got audio, video, screen sharing, network, and system. Network is short and straight, and we get just the details. How are we connected? What are the IP addresses? System, are they on VDI, for example, shows up in here. Clicking on the audio, we get things like the local healed ratio. Whenever you see healed, Teams audio, it's kind of like a cockroach. It's really hard to kill. You know, if you cut your network cable or you have bad Wi-Fi, yeah, you'll kill it. But if you just interfere with the network, it will do so many things to adapt. You're dropping 30% of your packets. It'll start sending redundant packets, basically RAID for your packets to rebuild that conversation. So that's the healing ratio that you'll see. 0% is good. 100% is really bad. I've never seen 100%. Packet loss is 0%. We've got bitrate, we've got codec down here. So this will be the last codec used that was reported in. So if Teams has to downgrade from the high quality, high performance codec to something that uses less bandwidth or has that different characteristics in it to be able to deal with whatever your network is throwing at it, you've got that here. I'm going to hop back here. We got about 8 minutes left to my favorite topic.
We're talking about the issue I have with going back to the meeting that I don't know how to read it. They said like Gina, I know Gina is bad usually, but reading, I have no idea. And even if now you told me like 100% bad or any percentage that, like, what do I use that?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, so what do you do when you're in Teams Admin Center, you dive into a user and then into a call or into a meeting and you see things that look bad? So the Copilot link is there, and that's going to be what you're going to want to do in the future. If that's not working for you right now, dive into the QER report under Power BI and have a look at that same call, those same issues that way, because there's a lot more available to you to kind of filter and click through and try and figure out what's going on. It doesn't necessarily need you to look at a table of speeds and feeds and various values and try and figure it out that way.
Another trick that I use a lot, take a screenshot of the window, paste it, like Firewall Logs, say, tell me what's the worst thing out there, and it'll with logic. Oh, that jitter right there, that's a good problem. That's one way to have it.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah, because that was my next thing. I don't have. I can't afford a Copilot license for the admin that I have to other chat.
Mm-hmm. All right, so to QoS or not to QoS. I'll get straight to the endpoint. It's been a long time since I've implemented QoS on a network in first world countries. The last one I think I did was a branch of an office in Nigeria that needed QoS. So back in the Skype for Business server days, we had our servers in the wiring closet or maybe in a data center. Our traffic is going east to west between our offices. QoS was a big deal and it could do a lot for us on those networks. Teams, most of our connections are between our client and the cloud. So we get QoS. Get on my laser pointer. We get QoS on this one segment right here between our user on the LAN and the firewall, and that's it. It doesn't help us with our home user. It doesn't help us with anything in the cloud. Now, on the Microsoft network, you're good, but it's not taking your QoS markings and then recognizing those in the Microsoft network. It's basing it on the actual traffic and where it's going and what devices it's going to. Your DHCP markings for your QoS don't make it past your firewall. You can, and that's kind of what this slide gets at. But what about the devices and the connections? If you have a fully managed PC and you can still push group policy to it or Intune, or heaven forbid you go and registry hack to turn the settings on, or you've got Teams phone on your desk, an MTR device, chances are QoS is going to work for you. It's going to be relatively easy to set up. If you have a BYOD PC that you don't have administrative control over, it's not enrolled in your Intune, it's not getting your group policy, you're not tagging anything. Same with some of the other clients. Web client has no ability to affect your network stack. How are you connected? If you're wired, yeah, it's probably working well. Wi-Fi, cellular, VPN, it's game over. It's not working there either. Inbound traffic. Your client is tagging its traffic outbound out of your network. It gets to the firewall. Maybe it's got quite a journey to get there, and the DHCP packet does its thing. Your return traffic, is your firewall doing any logic going, hey, this was tagged going outbound, this is return traffic for this, do I tag it? You might need to go in and do some configuration there to tag that. If you don't have this fully managed PC, you need to look at your switches and see if your switches can look at your ports and your protocols that are in use and go, aha, this is 50,002 for my port. That's usually Teams. I'm going to go ahead and tag that. So when do we do QoS? When we are congested, when there's a lot of traffic on the road, lights and sirens get you access. When you're not congested, do your lights and sirens get you there any faster under any better scenario? No. You get there when you would get there. The number of networks that I see in 2026 that are congested, that are having bandwidth issues, that are having maybe even quality issues, are significantly low. Like I said, the last one that I did was a branch office in Nigeria that was actually quite congested and a lot of things fighting for it. And the only way we could get Teams Voice to work was to turn on QoS and basically get the priority over everyone else on that network. All right, we've got a minute and a half left for questions. If anyone has anything additional.
For the building, I think the quality dashboard. Is that the same database?
It is not. So that will, it used to be building info file under call quality dashboard and labels. Those have merged now. For our emergency locations, we've got 3 items under locations. The top 2 are the same. That's your emergency addresses. The middle one that's in there is for your policies that get assigned within that site, which is largely your emergency policies, but it's also some other things for network roaming. You should have almost the same information in all 3 of those. I say almost because you should not be putting VPN subnets, for example, in your emergency locations. Hopefully your clients are modern enough that they're not picking up that address and trying to assert that, yes, this is where I am. It has happened. All right, and we are out of time. Thank you very much, everybody. My contact information is there. Feel free to reach out, and I'll be kicking around the rest of today and most of tomorrow as well. Feel free to corner me and ask all kinds of questions.